me ask you a question. Are you truly satisfied with your job? Or could your boss do a better job of creating a more inclusive culture? Well, I'll give you a couple of minutes to consider your answer. In the meantime, I'll give you some food for thought. According to the employment blog Go Remotely, 65% of Americans reported being truly satisfied or happy at work. Meanwhile, 1 in 4 American workers, according to the blog, either accepted or turned down a job last year due to the employee benefits which were offered. The Harvard Business Review chimed in with their own study on global satisfaction back in 2016, and it revealed that 58% of workers would trust a stranger before they would trust their own boss. Lauren Winans is on a mission to ensure that employers are doing their part to create an inclusive and inviting culture which entices employees to come to work. She's the Chief Executive Officer and Principal HR Consultant for Next Level Benefits, an HR consulting practice offering clients access to HR professionals for both short-term and long-term projects. With 20 years of human resources and employee benefits experience, she possesses a deep understanding and knowledge of HR best practices and what resonates with employees. In order to keep them motivated to get the job done, she joined me this week to have an in-depth discussion on workplace diversification and keeping America's workforce happy and content to keep coming to work. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation.
Excited that you invited me. I'm really excited to talk about the questions that you posed too. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share some information because your questions were fantastic. Probably the best I've ever received for an interview. So I'm really psyched.
Well, I appreciate the compliment and I want to welcome you to the program. Lauren, if you're ready, I'll wish you a happy Tuesday. Say good morning to you, and it's great to see you. I'm excited to talk a little human resources this morning.
Me too, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to dig in with you today.
As am I, and I wanted to start today's conversation by diving into the business that you run. I know that you opened or began operations with your business venture in 2019, and it's intended to give executives access to human resources professionals on demand. So I'm wondering if you could tell me all about your business.
Yeah, sure. So after 20 years of corporate HR roles, I decided to kind of go out on my own in 2019, founded Next Level Benefits. And, as you mentioned, we do offer HR teams and executives and business owners, access to HR professionals. Everyone on our team has at least 20 years of corporate HR experience. And I think that is very beneficial for HR teams who could really use some extra hands. And so we work on a lot of different projects with a variety of different employers, all industries, all sizes. And I've been very fortunate that when we started, in 2019, we were able to, get some clients right off the bat, some of which are still with us. So yeah, we spend a lot of our time with HR teams, just helping them to create, more best places to work.
Fantastic. And now, since you're a relatively new business, I'm also wondering your thoughts on how COVID affected the way that you could grow your business.
COVID, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, really helped my business to grow, quite frankly, because there was such a major impact to employment environments of all types. There was a lot of need for HR consultants, to really kind of step in and help HR teams to react to a lot of what was going on during the pandemic, and now to continue to strategize, create strategies around how to continue to improve, environments and atmospheres in which employees are coming into every day. So it's actually been really beneficial for growing my business, despite all of the downside and negative impact of COVID and, across the world.
And Lauren, tell me, since you have those 2 decades of experience, I'm also fascinated to get your perspective on how do you think the relationship between the management level and employee relations has changed over the years?
That is such a great question. And, honestly, I think the evolution has accelerated, particularly over the last couple of years due to the pandemic. I definitely think that the dynamic is different. The dynamic is no longer, I'm the employer and here's what I'm going to provide you, take this job or leave it. It's very much a more competitive space for employees. So employers are really needing to up their game and become a place that people want to work. And they need to also think very, long and hard about what their company mission is, and, if they're going to be socially responsible, how they're going to interact with their community. And all of these components are very important to employees, and employees have, the opportunity right now to choose. It's an employee's job market right now. And so if employers don't make those changes, and don't recognize that the dynamic has changed, they're going to end up, losing out on some really wonderfully talented employees.
And tell me, what do you think the key is to ensuring that employers provide an enjoyable and cooperative experience? How do you think we can get people excited about coming to work?
One of the major things I think that is often overlooked is, a company's leadership. It's really important that leadership has a strong sense of strategy and mission for the company, and that they communicate that well without the organization, or within the organization. And I think also leading with empathy and understanding is also going to keep employees motivated. Employees really want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And when leadership can create that kind of environment, lead with empathy, help their employees balance their personal and professional lives by being flexible with schedules and being flexible with the needs of the organization. Those are all things I think that instill and create a culture that people want to work for. So I think that is honestly the first step.
And with unemployment benefits ending in most states, the enhanced unemployment benefits in most states ending as a result of the pandemic, I'm curious to ask you about getting people back to work and enticing them to get back to work after their benefits have run out, because a lot of people have stayed home because it's more conducive to them to stay home because of those enhanced employment benefits. With those away, how do you think the environment's going to change?
I think that there's an opportunity here to create, a employee value proposition, an employee experience that employees want to be a part of. You've got folks that may have been out of the workforce for a variety of reasons, could have been for unemployment benefits and not needing to be in the workforce. It could have been, they needed to be home to stay with their kids, or maybe they're a caretaker for, an elderly family member. You've also got folks that, retired early because they just didn't want to be in the workforce during the pandemic. All sorts of different reasons kind of contribute to people, kind of leaving the workforce over, the recent past. But I do think that, as the pandemic, we get our hands around it, and let's hope, fingers crossed, that we can get there very quickly. I think that there's, employees are going to be looking for, when they're ready to enter back into the workforce, they're going to be looking for jobs that they have flexibility, that they have great benefits, that they get paid competitively, and creating a total rewards package for employees that's enticing, and creating a culture that is diverse and inclusive and, is really mission driven, I think are going to be the jobs that end up getting filled faster by those that are coming back into the workplace.
And the unemployment rate for individuals with disabilities across the United States, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, stood at 12.6% in 2020, an increase of 5.3% over the last year. Therefore, I ask Winners her opinion on how employers all across America can seize the opportunity to advance their business by infusing our special needs population into the workforce.
That is such a great question. And I think that, it goes beyond, just saying it. There's some actionable steps that organizations can take. And I think that first actionable step is you want to create, a aspirational narrative around, inclusivity, around diversity, around equity. So if your organization, wants to challenge that and take that on as a value within your organization, you got to document it. You got to put it down. You got to make sure that it's available for people to access so that they can see the company's committed to this. So once that commitment is made, then it's all the different steps that come after that. It's, creating a hiring strategy that includes those that, may be disabled, or, maybe not necessarily have college educations, but there's opportunities within the organization that they can, take advantage of that don't require a college education. There's so many different, strategies that could be deployed from a hiring perspective that allow employers to get access to candidates that they wouldn't have normally considered, of being a good fit for their organization. That's a few of the things that you can do, but, also making sure that your environments, are set up properly for those who might have, a disability, making sure that your policies speak to everyone, who might fall under a particular policy. So your HR policies also have to be written in a way that shows that you recognize that there are differences within your workforce. And then lastly, I think it's also making sure that when you're communicating with your people, that you're providing, accessibility and accommodations when needed and necessary to make sure that everyone can hear your message and everyone can be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for sharing that. And I'm also, we talked earlier about the employer responsibility to create sort of a cooperative work culture, but I'm also wondering your thoughts on what employees can do to stand out to employers in the 21st century.
I think employees can do, they can do a lot. Your resume is simply, something that, is part of the talent acquisition process, right? It's part of, applying for a job. But when you get that opportunity to interview with organizations, that's your time to shine. That's your time to really explain what your skill set is, what you can bring to an organization. And I think, being your true, authentic self in those, situations, and not being nervous or worried about, am I going to get this job? Am I not? I think that authenticity, when that is, part of, the interview process, is going to be something that you feel good about and something that the employer feels good about. So I think really it comes down to, marketing yourself, feeling comfortable being authentic, showing what your skills are and showing how you can be, a great asset to an organization. A lot of that comes through, dialogue, and conversation with, the person, the hiring manager or the recruiter. But also, consider, your social media presence and, how you're kind of building your own personal brand. You have an opportunity there to leverage social media in that way to show people what you care about, the things you're passionate about, the skills that you have. So take advantage of, all of those different opportunities.
Also know that you have spent some time in healthcare insurance and HR. So I'm wondering your perspective also on whether employees should be mandated to get the COVID vaccine and sort of the tightrope that employers have to walk when approaching this particular issue.
Yeah, that is such a good way to explain it too. It truly is a tightrope. It's a complicated subject. I think that employers, really, an employer wants to provide a safe and healthy environment in which to work. But they also, want to make sure that they're respecting, people's, desires to make their own decisions about, their own healthcare and what goes into their bodies. So I think it's such a tricky thing. I do think that it does depend upon the industry and how often employees are interacting with the general public. So for example, if it's a hospital setting or a doctor's office, I do really think that, the mandated vaccine policies that employers, generally put in place, I do think that they are important and they should be, should be put in place. There does need to be naturally an opportunity for employees to, appeal or, basically ask for an accommodation depending upon their own personal circumstances. But I do think settings like that, where they're interacting with the general public, there should be more of a mandated approach. I think that other organizations that perhaps don't have that same frequency with which they're interacting with a lot of individuals at a given time, I think might be able to get by with a policy that's not mandated, but a policy that it strongly encourages employees to get vaccinated in order for them to come back on site or come back into the office. Anyone who's coming back into an office setting wants to be able to feel that they're protected, that their health and their safety is of the utmost priority. And the only way that we can all do that together is to get vaccinated, not even just for ourselves, but also for others.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. While you were giving that answer, I was thinking about the recent policy that the NFL adopted, right? Because it's a close contact sport. And there are a lot of NFL players who are only going to get it because they're mandated to get it and otherwise wouldn't have done it. So that was an interesting answer. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm curious to also ask you about diversifying opportunities for both youth and women, specifically to get them more infused in the workforce. What do you think the keys there are to getting women and young people more opportunities for diversified career opportunities?
Yeah, I think, for women, women are still the primary caretakers, for, children and, elderly family members within families or neighborhoods or whatnot. And I think what's going to be really important to help women advance and have, more opportunity in a variety of different ways is to make sure that they feel supported, from a child care caretaker perspective. There's a lot of wonderful benefits out there that employers can infuse into their employee benefits program that provide women with an opportunity to leverage them if they need them. So I think that's number one. Number two, just generally speaking, there's an opportunity to get, more women on boards of directors across the country, across the world. And it's just really an opportunity to, invite more diverse ideas and thoughts into the boardroom. because those decisions that get made at the top really do affect everyone underneath. So I think those are, two things to really focus on for women. For young people, for youth, I think it's really important to expose youth during their high school and college years to a variety of different industries and different roles that they could potentially consider themselves for. That could be, something maybe in a high tech space, or maybe it's also something in a vocation or like a VOTech, sort of opportunity. You really want to expose people to a variety of different jobs that are out there, because what's right for some people is not right for others. Maybe college is right for someone, but maybe college isn't right for the next person. And I think, exposing youth to as many opportunities as possible during the high school and college ages is a great way to help them understand what's out there. And then once they do enter the workforce, making sure that they have the proper personal development and training is going to be critical to really reducing that talent gap. We've had a lot of baby boomers that have retired recently, and they've taken a lot of knowledge with them. And it's really important that we start to invest in our youth as they enter the workforce to make sure that they can kind of make up for that loss in really talented, experienced employees that have left the workforce recently.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lauren, I want to have a little bit of fun with you. I know that you live out there in Pittsburgh. So when you're not helping people fill jobs and giving HR advice, what do you like to do for fun?
I'm a mom of two. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. So I spend a lot of time with them when I'm not working. We do a lot of really fun things. They love animals. They love to be active outdoors. So we like to hike together. We like to take long walks. We have a puppy that we got recently that keeps us very busy. So I'm definitely in mom mode most of the time. But if it was just me making choices on how to spend my time, I love to read. I love to do yoga. I love to catch up on, my latest Netflix binge session. All the normal stuff that most of us love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons I started this podcast was I told myself there was only so much Netflix I could watch in a day, right?
That's right. Yeah. When you've watched all the shows, it's time to get a new hobby.
Well, welcome to this conversation then. So my final question for you, Lauren, is I'm wondering if you've given any thought to how you want your personal or professional legacy to be defined.
That is such a wonderful question. And I don't think I've thought about it enough in my life. But, what I'll say is that when giving some thought to it, I really want my personal legacy to be, that I was a person of integrity and a person that really encouraged people around them to be their authentic selves. I hope that people look at me in that way. I have a lot of work to do. I'm still evolving as a human. So there's a lot of, different things that I'm still learning on a daily basis. But I really hope that friends and family and people who know me best would say that I encourage them to be their authentic selves and accepted them for who they are. From a professional standpoint, I really hope that I'm able to kind of continue this work that I'm doing. And I hope that my legacy is that I have helped to create more best places to work for the employees of really, the world. I'm really passionate about creating environments that are supportive, inclusive, and offer development opportunities, so that as we spend most of our times at work, most of our time of our life at work, we're able to actually get something out of it in return. So that's my goal, is to create more best places to work.
That's a fantastic mission and legacy, and thank you for sharing. So just finally, very quickly, if people wanted to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, best way to do that is to reach out via our website. Our website is nlbenefits.com. That's next level, nlbenefits.com. Our website has a bunch of information on it about the various experts that we have, about the different projects that we've worked on recently. It has an opportunity to schedule a discovery call or to reach out via email. So that's the best way to get in touch.
Fantastic. You know, Lauren, I had a great time chatting with you about workplace diversification, and I want to thank you for your time, energy, and efforts on my behalf. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciated this and really enjoyed the questions and the conversation with you today. Thank you.